Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In the previous tutorials we learned how to import the libraries and to import the dataset, and now we are finally going to start preparing the data so that our machine learning models run correctly. And the first problem that we have to deal with is the case where you have some missing data in your dataset. And that happens quite a lot actually in real life, so you have to get the trick to handle this problem and make it all good for your machine learning model to run correctly. So let's have a look at the dataset. Here I'm going to my Google Sheets tab. Okay, so here is the dataset. And as you can see, there is two missing data. There is one missing data in the age column here for Spain, and one missing data in the salary column for Germany. So how can we handle this problem? Well, a first idea is to remove the lines, the observations, where there is some missing data. So what we could do is to remove this line and remove this line. But that can be quite dangerous because imagine this dataset contains crucial information. It would be quite dangerous to remove an observation. So we need to figure out a better idea to handle this problem. And another idea, and that's actually the most common idea to handle missing data, is to take the mean of the columns. So here we are going to replace this missing data here by the mean of all the values in the column age. And that's the same for every feature that contains missing data. We replace this missing data by the mean of the values in the column that contains this missing data. So that is the strategy we're going to use, and let's do it right now on Python and R. So let's start with Python. I'm going to jump straight to Python right now. Here it is. Okay. So as usual, we are going to take a library to do this job for us. We're not going to implement a function mean ourselves. We will, make it the simplest as possible. So the library that we're going to use for this one is called scikit-learn preprocessing. And from this library, we're going to import the imputer class. So let's do this. So to import this library in Python, we need to type from sklearn dot and then preprocessing, here it is, import imputer. Okay, so I'll just explain what this is. So sklearn is scikit-learn actually, and it contains amazing libraries to make machine learning models. And from scikit-learn we import this preprocessing library that contains a lot of classes, methods, to preprocess any datasets. That is exactly what we're doing right now. And from this library, we are importing the imputer class, which will allow us to take care of those missing data. Okay, and now that we imported the class, we now need to create an object of the class. So to create this object, we are going to start giving a name to this object, and we're going to call it imputer. Let's make things simple. Imputer equals, and now we're going to call the class that we just imported, which is imputer with capital I. And then now a good thing to do is to press Command I to see the object inspector here. Command I is like Command inspect. So we are inspecting the imputer here to get some info about this class and see what parameters we have to input. Okay, so here we have the parameters, and the first parameter is missing values. So in parentheses, we're going to input missing values. And so for missing values, we are going to choose NaN. And why is that? It's because when we go to our dataset in Variable Explorer here, and we go to dataset, we can see that the missing values are called NaN. So by putting NaN here with capital N's actually, it will recognize the missing values to take care of. Okay, so let's press OK. Now, what is the next parameter? The next parameter is strategy. Okay, so that's good. Let's add strategy here equals. And what strategy are we going to use? Of course, we're going to use the mean strategy because we're going to replace the missing values by the mean of the column. So let's choose here mean. And actually mean is the default value for the strategy parameter, so we wouldn't need to input strategy equals mean, but let's put it anyway to understand what we are doing. And then what is the next parameter? The next parameter is axis. Okay, so if axis equals 0, that means that we're taking the mean of the columns. And if axis equals 1, that means that we're taking the means of the rows. So of course it makes much more sense to take the means of the columns because it's the mean of the feature. So of course we're going to choose axis equals 0. Okay, good. And we're not going to take care of the rest of the parameters, they're not important. We have the essential parameters here and we're ready to go to the next step, which is to fit this imputer object to our data X, to our matrix of features X. So that's what we are going to do right now. Okay, so to fit this imputer object to our matrix of feature X, we need to do this. We are going to type imputer dot fit. You see, it's quite intuitive. And then in fit, of course, we're going to input what we want to fit the imputer to, which is X, of course. However, we're not going to fit the imputer on the total matrix. Let's have a look at the matrix again. The matrix is here, as you can see, and we're not going to fit the imputer to all the matrix. We are only going to fit it to the columns where there is some missing data. So here we're going to add some brackets here. And as usual, we want to take the whole column, so we will take all the lines by putting column here, then comma. And then here, that's where we are going to choose the right column. That means the column that contains missing data. So this column here is the second column and the third column. That is the age column and the salary column. So we need to put the indexes of this second and third column. And do you remember what indexes we have to use? Indexes in Python start at 0. So this column here has index 1 and not 2. And this column here has index 2. Okay, so here to input those two indexes, we're gonna type 1 column. And sorry about that, guys, it's not gonna be 2 here, it's gonna be 3. And the reason for that is that the upper bound is excluded. So yeah, by putting 1 column 3 here, that means that we're taking indexes 1 and 2. But the lower bound one is included. So you just have to get used to this syntax in Python and you will soon be much more comfortable. But for now, I agree that it's sometimes quite confusing. But that's how it is. X taking all the lines and columns 1 and 2. Indexes 1 and 2. Okay, that's all to fit the imputer object to our matrix X. So now what is this imputer.fit x13? It's actually the same object imputer that was fit to the matrix X. So what we need to do is to add imputer equals imputer.fit x to make our imputer object fitted to the data X. So now by adding this imputer equals that, the imputer object is now fitted to the matrix X. Okay, and now we just need to do one last thing, which is to replace the missing data of the matrix X by the mean of the column. So to do this, we need to do X bracket, then we need to select the columns where there is some missing data. So as usual, column to take all the lines, then comma, and then the same, we need to take the two indexes of the columns that contain missing data, which are indexes 1 and 2. So here, it's the same as here, we type 1 colon 3, okay, equals, and then we're going to use our object imputer, and we're going to apply the method of the imputer object, which is transform. So here, the transform method is here, and this is the method that is going to replace the missing data by the mean of the column. So, and here, what we only have to do is to take the two columns of the data X and put it in the parentheses here. And that's it. That's how you take care of missing data with Python. So now we're going to select this block of code, execute. Okay, all good. You can see that the code ran properly. And now let's look at X and let's see what happens. X, enter. Great, the missing data were replaced by the mean. The salary that was missing was replaced by $63,777. And the age that was missing was replaced by 38.7 years old. Okay, and let's check that. Let's check if it's the right values on Google Sheets. Okay, so here on Google Sheet. So the first missing value was the salary here. So let's compute the average. So we have to type equals average. Here it is. We take all the observations of the salary column, parentheses, enter, and here is the average. So it's 63,777. Let's check on Python. Yep, here it is. It's the right value. It's the mean. So it was replaced correctly. And now let's check it for the age. Let's remember 38 years old, 0.7. And let's go to Google Sheets. Let's compute the average here, equals average. Here we take all the values, parentheses, and 38.7. All good. That's perfect. Okay, so congratulations. Now you know how to take care of missing data in Python. You can have fun and try to use another strategy. For example, you can take, let's go back to the object inspector. You can take the median strategy, which will replace your missing value by the median of the column. Or you can take the most frequent value of the column, which could also be a good idea depending on the context. Okay, so now we're going to do the same in R. It's going to be quite the same, only we're going to have to handle the two missing data separately. Okay, so let's do this. First, we need to take our data set. So data set. Let's start by taking care of the missing value in the age column. So here we will need to take the age column, and to do this in R, we need to add a $sign here, and here we choose age. So by doing that, dataset $age, we're taking the column age of the dataset. Then we're going to add equals, and then we're going to add an if-else. So I'm going to type if-else here, then parenthesis. In the if-else function, you have to input three parameters. The first parameter is your condition, if condition. The second parameter is the value you want to input if the condition is true, and the second parameter is the value you want to input if the condition is false. So let's first input the condition. The condition is going to be is.na, parenthesis, dataset $age. And that's it. Is.na is a function that tells if the value in the function is missing or not. So by putting is.na dataset $age, we are checking to see if all the values in the column age are missing. So this will return true if the value in the column age is missing, and false if the value in the column age is not missing. Okay, so that's the condition. And now the second parameter is the value that is going to be returned if the condition above is true. And of course, if the condition is true, that means that there is a missing value, and that means that we have to replace it with the average. So here we're going to input as a second parameter the average of the column age. Okay, and to compute the average in R, there is a simple way. We can type AVE, then dataset, $age, because we want to take the column age, then comma, and then here we're going to add a function. So we're going to type fun in capitals, fun equals, then function x. This is still part of the R syntax. We're just making a function here, which is going to be the mean function. And then we have to specify what this function will be. And so this function is, of course, the mean, which is an existing function in R. So here, parenthesis, x, comma. And here we're just going to add na.rm equals true. And that means that we ask R to include the missing values when R will go through the whole column age to compute the mean of the values. Now we still need to close the parenthesis here, okay, and then comma. So that's it for the second parameter. And now we need to add the third parameter. And in your opinion, what is it going to be? Well, this third parameter is the value you want to return if the first condition is not true. That means that the value in the column age is not missing. So that means that the value exists. So here we're simply going to put dataset age. Okay, and that's done. By typing this, we replace the missing value in the column age by the mean of the column age itself. So let's select this and let's see what happens. So Command and Control plus Enter to execute. And here it is. It executed properly. And now let's look at our dataset by clicking on this tab here. And good, perfect. The missing value that was here in the age column was replaced by the mean of the column. Great. So now let's do the same for the salary. So we're just going to copy this, paste, and we're just going to replace age by the salary. Here, here as well, here as well, and also here. Great. And now we have to be careful with something. It has to be aligned here. So we just have to do this, and same for here. This. Okay, and now we're fine. Now we're ready to select this code section here. Press Command and Control plus Enter to execute. Here it is. Let's check our data set. And perfect, the missing value in the salary that was here was replaced by the mean of the salary column, $63,777. Okay, perfect, congratulations. Now you know how to take care of missing data in both Python and R. That's the end of this tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial. The next tutorial will be about categorical data, so we will learn how to encode categorical data. You will understand why we have to do this, so I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and until then, enjoy machine learning.